Hey, it's so good to see you again. Welcome back to this week's episode of Closed by Mo. My name is Mohammed. I'm hopefully your favorite YouTube host on most things real estate. I'm also a real estate investor and a broker that does a lot of business in New York City and Long Island. A lot of my clients call me Mo. You can definitely call me Mo if you'd like to. All my information is going to be in the description below. In this week's episode, we're going to talk about something that I've noticed quite a bit more, especially because I do business across the boroughs of New York City and then into Long Island, Nassau and Suffolk County. So I end up working with a lot of folks that are maybe moving out of the city into Long Island, and I figured, you know what? Let me make a video about this because I personally have also had my family and my extended family move out from Queens into Long Island, and there were a couple of differences that we noticed while in that process and also after that was all done. Without further ado, let's talk about a few key points to keep in mind when you're thinking about moving from NYC to Long Island. Now, I'm going to try and keep most of this video attributed to like real estate things, but a couple of these points are definitely nothing to do with real estate, but I still figured was kind of relevant, especially for someone like myself who's lived in the boroughs for so long, and then eventually we did move out to Long Island a couple of years ago. The first thing I want to say, and you probably already noticed this, in Long Island, so Nassau and or Suffolk, your property prices, your real estate prices are definitely going to be a lot more affordable than in New York City. I don't mean that just from a purchase perspective. I also mean from a rental perspective. You just get more house, you just get more space for your dollar in the in the counties of Long Island, Nassau and Suffolk. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that New York City has, I believe, if memory serves me right, more than 9 million people, more than 9 million residents. That's more than a lot of countries on this planet, right? So when you go out to Nassau and Suffolk, and the population is more sparsed out, so your property prices and your rental rates and everything else is generally a little bit lower than what you might see in the boroughs of the city. Now, with that in mind, you have to also understand that you just get more bang for your buck, but the trade-off there is that the property taxes are definitely going to be a lot higher than what you may be used to paying if you're in the city. For example, in New York City, if you have a $1 million property or something like a multifamily, whatever it is, your property taxes, depending on where you are probably going to be significantly lower than $10,000, especially if you're in like a kind of an opportunity zone. Your annual property taxes might just be a few $1,000s, right? And the trade-off there is the cost of living in the city is a lot higher, so you end up paying more for a lot of these other services, goods and services. But in Long Island, your property prices are lower, so what might have sold for $1 million in the city probably sell for maybe 600, 700, maybe even 800,000 in Long Island. But your property taxes as an overall percentage of your property price is definitely going to be a lot higher. So for example, in Long Island, it's not uncommon to see property taxes that are higher than $11,000, $12,000 a year, especially more so if you end up living in one of those villages or incorporated village in Long Island. That might take you quite a bit of time to understand. It took me a little bit of time to comprehend as well. But basically in Long Island, you have Nassau County, you have Suffolk County, but you also have different towns in Long Island. So you might have town of Hempstead, town of North Hempstead. Within those towns, you will have hamlets that aren't incorporated hamlets. Basically it's just nice to be part of that hamlet or like a little village. And there's also incorporated villages in the specific towns. And basically being part of an incorporated village means that you now also have to pay village taxes on top of your general and school taxes in Long Island. So definitely keep that in mind because your property taxes as a share of your overall property prices are definitely going to be a lot higher in Long Island, but you get more bang for your buck, meaning you get a front yard, you get a backyard, you get a lot of space. You most likely can purchase a house that's completely detached. You're just going to have a lot of driveway space, garage space. Those things are almost the norm when it comes to Long Island, but they may be more coveted in the city because there's just so many more people and there's just a lot less space. Another thing that I would definitely advise folks that are moving from New York City to Long Island for the very first time, I thought this was something really cool. It has nothing to do with real estate, but for me it was a big, something I had never even realized. Your insurance rates will drop by a little bit or by a lot depending on how you're bundling, especially car insurance. I mean, I was paying like almost $400, $500 a month car insurance. And then when we switched addresses to Long Island, that dropped to maybe like 200. So obviously it depends on your driving history, your record, and all that other stuff, and your car too, and all those other things. But you should expect to see a couple of different ongoing expenses drop. But you should also expect, especially if you're buying a house or you're paying utility bills in the house in Long Island, your utilities are probably going to be slightly higher, not as much comparable, but might be slightly higher, especially more so if you consider things like a lot of homes in Long Island, they don't use gas, they use oil. So a lot of folks that end up buying homes that have oil tanks, if they don't decommission the oil tanks or abandon the oil tanks, and they certify it through a valid company, what they'll do is they'll have a service contract with an oil provider. So throughout the winter, they won't be paying like a fluctuating rate. They'll pay like a fixed monthly rate that's The company will calculate off of their usage and everything. But that's just one thing you also definitely have to keep in mind if and when you're considering moving to Long Island, is that there's a lot of homes that will probably be oil. It doesn't mean all of them, but it's not uncommon whatsoever. Now, in terms of one final thing that definitely has nothing to do with the real estate, something I've personally noticed, when you move out of New York City, especially into Long Island, people in general are nicer. And when I say nicer, I mean they're not rushing as much, because I feel like in the city everything's a hustle bustle. Everyone's got to get somewhere. But in general, people in Long Island are nicer. You can talk to them. You can stop and have a conversation with folks. And especially when you're driving, I feel like there's a lot less road rage. Like in the city, for example, you sit at a red light, and then as soon as it turns green, it's like you hear a honk from behind you. That doesn't happen in Long Island, especially not in the nicer areas, the more affluent, expensive areas. People will just give you a couple of moments when that light turns green. They'll wait to see what you're about to do, and if they see that you're taking a little bit longer than expected, they'll do a little slight honk, like a beep. It won't be like a beep. It'll be like a beep. Anyways, that has nothing to do with real estate, but just something I noticed as a New Yorker or a New York City resident that moved out to Long Island a couple of years ago. With that, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll catch you guys next week. Bye.